Welcome back to the Message in the Machine. This is Bryon and Bryon. Um, so this week we wanted to, since last week we talked about, and we'll probably circle back to this at some point. Kind of what to do, getting started, and things along those lines. We wanted to talk about a couple of things that, as an entry level business or somebody who's just getting started, a couple of the things that are going to determine your success. Um, and One of them is going to be, what do you call it? The buyer persona. I call it client avatar, your dream client, or whatever, and determining who you're selling to. And then, Bryon, what was the other one?
The pricing.
The pricing, yep. The consideration with the pricing and stuff. So
Yeah.
before we get too far into it, my name is Bryon. I own a marketing agency that I'm actively working on shutting down, and I'll be opening up a content studio for business owners. More on that in a couple of weeks here. But I have a couple of things I need to go do, but that's what the goal is. And so with that content studio, you're going to get me, you're going to get my camera, and you're going to get strategy. And it's going to be all in one building. So stay tuned for that. And
I'm also Bryon. I own 531 Labs. It feels weird every week I say that. I'm also Bryon, but I also own a marketing agency, 531 Labs, here in the Omaha metro area, and I am your systems guy. I kind of am the guy that shows you what's really broken in your business, or what's not working. And kind of shows you that it's part of a system that you either have that's broken, or you don't, or you lack the system, right?
mhm.
That's more often the case. But yeah, that's what I do on a daily basis, living the dream.
And the idea that we want to put forward to you guys is a lot of times when you have elements of your marketing that's not aligning or not working, typically it's a couple of different tweaks that you got to make. If you've taken time to figure out what your product is and all that other good stuff, and tested it out and things aren't working, then there's probably some systems things that are going wrong, or it's some operational things that are going wrong, and those are the areas that the mess or marketing and the messaging side of it. So there's a messaging side that might be disconnected, or there's operation side that might be disconnected. And so that's where Bryon and I come in. We operate on both ends of that spectrum. Where I can help you with some of your messaging stuff, and Bryon can really laser in on the operations, the back end stuff that actually converts onlookers into steady clients. And so that's what we're here to do. And we don't hold anything back on these live streams. So if you're tuning in, understand that if you ask a question in the chat, we're going to give you our best answer.
Yeah, yeah. We this is what, our fourth, fifth, or sixth. I don't even know. We kind of
Mhm.
just get on and jam a little bit. We have some notes and stuff for stuff we want to talk about, but you kind of get, it's kind of raw and unfiltered, and it's what I like. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's kick it off.
Yep. And so first things first, we're going to talk about client avatar, buyer persona, dream client, all that other good stuff. Um, and a lot of people kind of have misconceptions about how this entire process works. They think that I need to come up with a product that appeals to the biggest audience of people, and that's how I get successful. Um, Bryon, what do you think about that? That thought that you have to appeal to the biggest audience possible.
I don't think so. If you're off, if you're, that's actually my first note here. If your offer sounds reasonable to everyone, it's probably for no one
Right.
ultimately, right? When something's vague, people nod. They're like, "Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. It makes sense." But nodding and agreeing is not buying,
Right.
right? Clear offers direct to the right person create reactions, right?
Right.
And so knowing who you're supposed to be targeting is like the number one goal in a business after you have a product. Like, I don't know how more blunt to be with it than that. Um,
Well,
your best customer is defined by the problem you're trying to solve, right?
right.
Not a profile like age and all that stuff. That stuff's, those psychodemographics and stuff like that are okay, but I'm going to be honest with you. If I come into any business, if anybody has a client of mine, I don't care what anybody's age, race, sex, anything is. Do you have a product they want to buy? That's the person that we need to sell to.
Yep. And
That's it.
I'll extend it a little bit. Does that audience have the money to purchase the thing that does is it valuable enough for them to pay you for that product or service? Because I view money kind of like as appreciation tokens, basically. They appreciate the service, they appreciate the product, and so they're willing to pay for it. And so the example I used off air was, imagine you were selling mortgages to 12-year-olds, right? Or some
Right.
super high ticket offer to an audience of college kids. You're going to have a very narrow group of kids that can actually afford it. More times than not, you're not going to have enough to sustain. And so you have to make sure that your product aligns with the market that can afford it too, and solves a problem that they're interested in. Because I've seen lots of great ideas. I've seen people have amazing ideas about products and services. But when you start digging in, like, well, who's going to buy this thing? Who do you think is going to buy this thing? They haven't really put any thought into it, you
Right.
know? The entire concept of where I know it was in Vegas, they have that underground tube thing where you can drive the car through it. You
Yeah.
have all the cars that can drive through it, but it's like, well, I think we kind of solved that with a subway system. Like,
Right. Yeah.
and so it's understanding that just because you have a good idea and a great product idea, that doesn't always mean that there's a market for that. And even if you're doing small market stuff, you have to make sure that your pricing aligns and you're charging enough to validate the existence of the thing that you're trying to sell. So,
Right. And then it's also like I think we talked a little bit about it before the show with the video games and stuff. Like consider like say you own a toy store. Are you supposed to be marketing to kids
right,
or their parents? Sometimes both. It's but who's going to actually have that exchange of value with you? Who's going to
right,
buy something? It's the
right.
parents. Now you may need to hype up the kids. This is where you get into nuance and stuff that people don't
Mm,
really want to ever talk about. They want to give you some vapid response about this is how you set a customer avatar. You go through and you create, advertising Aaron, these fake names that marketing companies come up with for your avatars.
mhm,
That's great. And those are, I understand marketing on a foundational level needs those things for people to learn, but I want you to sell things. I
mhm,
want you to exchange whatever brainchild you have for value that lets you live the life you want to live, right?
right.
So I don't care about any of that stuff. Every piece of business for every different business, it's custom. You have to decide. And I don't mean to go off on a rant here, but like this just popped in my head because it kind of aggravates me when people generalize everything.
Mhm,
So you have to customize how you approach who your buyer is.
right.
So I don't know where I was really going with that. It's kind of a little
Well, okay, so let's go back to like the video game or the video game system or the toy or whatnot. Essentially, you're almost speaking to two audiences at the same time,
hmm
trying to get them to take two separate actions that work in concordance with one another. You're trying to reach the kids and show them how awesome this thing is that you've created and how fun it is. And then you're also trying to reach the parents and say, "Hey, we made this great thing for your kids, and if you buy it, they may stop asking you for other stuff for a while." And it's something that you and your kids can play together and things along those lines. And so, or there's a benefit for you as the parent, a benefit for the kid, or you're going to make the kid really happy. Like there's specific messages that are in line with one another, but you're serving two audiences. I remember when the Nintendo Switch came out, and actually the Nintendo Wii, if we're being honest, I noticed this, but the Nintendo Wii commercials always had two different threads going through their commercials.
hmm
One, we're going to hit the kids, and then one, we're going to hit the parents and show that we could do family activities on this thing. And every commercial was geared towards showing families playing the game together, and that was really the message. That's how they reached both audiences. And so sometimes when when your main buyer isn't the person that's going to be using the thing more times than not, you have to make a message for them, and then you have to make a message for the person that is going to kind of put the bug in their ear.
right.
I have a friend, they do, flowers for guys. And the messaging is get out of the doghouse.
Yeah.
If you get yourself in trouble, come to Flowers for Guys and get yourself out of the doghouse. and you're serving two audiences because the wife or girlfriend might share that with the husband and say, hey, I just wanted to put this in your ear, not letting them know that they pissed them off, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then for the guys, the message is you can absolutely save yourself some aggravation and frustration and make up for the thing that you screwed up by coming to Flowers for Guys. And so sometimes you're serving two different audiences. You got to be aware of that. The only way you're aware of that is if you do the research
Right.
and put some thought behind it. So I think we're off. I think I jumped off of our outline. Let me jump back into
No,
this.
you're fine. We don't have to stick to a
Yep.
T. I just have something in there that's same thing you're saying.
Yeah.
It's very important to. Maybe we should riff on how do we get started with that, right?
Right. So
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think the piece is figuring out what keeps them up at night. What is the thing that they hate to encounter, and solving and speaking to that very specific pain point. You know, um, here's one that's specific to me. I know how to work on cars. I hate working on cars. I know
Yeah.
how to change my own oil. I have no interest in ever changing my own oil. I hate it so much that I will absolutely pay somebody to change my oil. And so that's why drive-through oil changing places are a miracle and amazing.
Yeah.
you know,
You mean I can just sit in my car right now. It takes 10 minutes. I can sit on my phone and you can change my oil and I can drive out of here.
yeah,
I'm in.
amazing. And I hate working on cars. I hate changing my own oil. I've dropped transmissions in cars. I've changed transmissions. I don't want to do any of that stuff.
No.
And so any services that somebody will, even if you could come to my house and do it, that's even better. Like if you could come to my house and change my oil and I don't even have to leave the house, that's even better. And that
Yeah.
solves a very specific pain point. And so that's why every time you drive by one of those drive-through oil places, there's a line because they solve a specific problem because most people don't want to be up under their car changing their oil, even though it's a lot cheaper to do it. And so by positioning themselves in this and not worrying about, well, there's a billion other oil change places. Well, that's fine, but we don't need to capture everybody. We just need to get a good number of the market. Now you have a service that people want to buy. And I don't think people think on that level. I think they do that Shark Tank stuff where they feel like they have this new idea that nobody ever thought before,
Right.
and they're going to sprint to market with it without thinking about does this solve a specific problem for somebody that they're willing to pay for.
That would that's a good point because don't try to reinvent the wheel half the time. I tell this to so many people that doesn't cross their mind. I don't know if there's some in their brain people have these ethical or moral reasons to not do what I'm about to say.
Mm-hmm.
But go and see your competitors. Go look on someone doing the same thing you're doing in a different market that's similar to yours.
Mm-hmm.
Go get those comps. That's the first thing I'm going to do for my clients. I look at comps all the time. What's the other person that are having success and what they're doing, and find out. It's very easy. I'm maybe on a different show we can go over some of the tools and
Mm-hmm.
stuff you can do to find this information, but it's not too hard. You can ask ChatGPT and say, I have a list of people that are doing the same and selling the same type of service, maybe not exactly, but similar to mine.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell me what their avatars or demographics or their customers, that the market they're attacking, and it can at least get you started there, and then you can go, yeah, that sounds. I can make this work. This, that's having comps is what you need to do. There's nothing ethically bad or morally bad doing that. You're not stealing customers.
Right.
You know.
Well, I think to your point though, it also you get to bypass all the other mistakes that other people have made
100%.
by if you see what other people in your industry are doing and you copy it, but you're copying it in your own way. Because there's a way to duplicate what somebody's doing, but you still are authentic to who you are and what your product is and who your messaging is. You can do that. Just because there's a McDonald's doesn't mean Burger King can't exist, right? There's going to be people that pick one or the other.
Right.
You got different, even though they're both people that want fast food burgers or whatnot. Some people are going to prefer one or the other.
Yeah.
Little Caesars didn't.
I like a Whopper.
Yeah.
and I love McDonald's French fries.
Right.
That's what I really want. So if you open up a spot that can give me those, I'm yours. You know
And
what I
if you
mean?
put them in the same bag, you're going to catch on fire. Like
Right.
you mix the two things. So, and I think that's what people don't understand. There could be multiple. You can have a service that is pretty much identical to the other service, except it has your specific spin on it. Right? It's the way that you do things that speaks to the clients that you engage with, and you can bypass all the mistakes and the entire learning curve that other people endure. Because I think that's one of the things people don't understand. Um, it's not just about I'm just copying their success. You're avoiding those pitfalls
Right.
because it's that survivorship bias, right? Like, you know, we are only aware of the successful people, but the real lessons are where the people failed. And typically, when you look at
100%.
something that's really successful in a specific industry, that means they avoided a lot of the mistakes that have taken down their competitors. And so it's just being aware of that and understanding, hey, they're doing something right. Let me see what they're doing and see how they're doing their marketing, how they're phrasing their ads. Where are they advertising? Where do I see their stuff? And kind of building a framework around that, you know. This idea, this romanticization of we have to have new ideas all the time. I think it's one of those things that, for business owners specifically, that's YouTube shit.
Yeah.
That's YouTube stuff. That is YouTube marketing stuff where you have to have a new novel idea to break into a market. That is not how business really works.
I think it's kind of just popped in my head, and I think it's been something that maybe I haven't articulated to you, but I've tried.
Hmm.
Where it's like because I always say I'm tired of like the way marketing is done, or I'm tired of business owners not doing X, Y, Z, whatever.
Hmm.
I really think I just want business owners to toughen up a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I mean that in a way like be a little more cutthroat. You don't have to be that. None of this means you have to be a nasty person,
Hmm.
but you're trying to run a business, man. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like, don't I don't know what it's called, but like this false identity thing where we have to be so prim and proper all the time. Like, well, I can't go look at what they're doing. That'd be copying. I don't want to
Yeah.
copy. Like, what are you talking about? The pie
Meanwhile,
is so big.
yeah.
Just take your slice.
Meanwhile, the person leading the industry is absolutely seeing every new idea that sounds good and testing it out to see if it works in their business. And if
Mhm.
it works, they implement it. If it doesn't work, they discard it. You know, what was it? We were just talking about it off air. I do think it's kind of the LinkedInification of business, where everybody is so hyper obsessed with how they look and how they sound and presenting this idealized version of themselves and their product to all these people, almost like trying to win a contest. You
Yeah.
know, there's so much. Like I remember I used to read what was the magazine Ad Week. I
Mhm.
used to read Ad Week all the time, and you would see these award-winning ads, right? And I look and I'm like, I've never seen this ad in my life. And I go and look it up online because I was really trying to get into marketing. So I'm like, I'm gonna watch ads, I'm gonna do all this other stuff. I go and look it up online. I'm like, wow, that ad didn't inspire me to do anything.
Right.
It won awards for the artistic direction, the cinematography, and all that stuff. It didn't care. Does it sell products?
Right.
did, did it help this business? You know, did it help this business owner pay their mortgage this month?
I've never liked awards really for anything like that. Like, not to side quest here, but like if you go and look at the background of like the Oscars and everything,
Mhm.
that's just politics. That's like they go politicking to get nominated to get even in there.
Yeah,
That's not a bunch of people that like have watched all the movies that came out that year. Like I thought as a kid, and like they picked what they thought the top popular movies were. That's not really how it works.
right.
They're
Eh,
lobbying behind the scenes and paying money and doing this to get in. Like same with Adweek and words like that. It's
yeah,
like, no, give me the info marketer. Give me Dan Kennedy who sold, $150 million worth of dry cleaning guy's business because
yeah,
he wrote a good sales letter.
right.
That's what's up. You know what I mean?
I would take that all day. And I think, specifically when we talk about like award seasons and stuff like that, you know, um, it is a marketing element to it. Like for some of these movies, it's good marketing. And sometimes they'll shun a movie to send a message to this director, or this audience or that audience. And so it does turn into like this marketing kind of gimmick thing.
Right.
And a lot of times I sit there and I'm a movie guy, and I'll go watch some Oscar nominated movie and be asleep halfway through it.
Right.
And it's like this
And
one,
correct me if I'm wrong. No Marvel movies ever won an Oscar,
I think one is one, I think Black Panther won for costumes, if I'm not mistaken. But
but no Best Picture ever. Right.
no best picture, none of that other stuff.
None of them. How many Marvel movies are there? Some of them are crap,
It's
but
like over 30, but I do think the Dark Knight on DC side won awards.
right.
And so, but it's also Christopher Nolan, who also is a darling amongst that crowd of people. And so
Yeah.
they're willing to stretch themselves to say, okay, we like this director and we like his product. And so we're gonna, and like there's a whole thing of Oscar bait kind of movies where they'll drop
Yeah.
it in award season, knowing that the Academy will look at this and that's going to be secondary marketing for them,
Yeah.
streaming, and then they'll re-release it in theaters and all the other stuff. What we're saying is this, and it goes back to this. I run a basketball training business, and one of the things is I do the marketing, my boy does all the training. One of the things we have to drive home to parents all the time is trophies don't matter. You know, you come and tell us that this kid is the top rated fifth grader in the Midwest. That doesn't mean anything. He's the number three third grader in what does that even mean? And you talk to guys that are a little bit older who are around like professional or even college and stuff. And what happens is a lot of times kids will be phenomenal. They'll be ahead of their age group in so all these categories. But then by the time they hit, they peak at 16. And the
Right.
kids that the kids that haven't peaked yet, they haven't reached their peak until they're 24, so they're still on the upward trajectory while such and such peaked at 16. And so there's a lot that goes into it. And at the end of the day, these awards and medals and all this other stuff don't matter. I could go buy you a medal, right? Is your
Yeah.
kid better? Can he dribble with his left hand?
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jordan wasn't even good until senior year of high school.
he got cut from his 10th grade team. And, that was ill. And keep in mind, North Carolina basketball is like a religion there. And so
Right.
that means that it was hyper competitive and he just didn't make the cut. And that drove him. But a lot of times, you got like Wimbyaba, he's like 7'6", and the kid is still growing.
Right.
Like he's like,
Right.
like he came in at 19, he's still growing. And
Yeah.
so Giannis he was still growing when he came into the NBA.
Right.
And so what we're saying is all these things that people think matter, all these awards and accolades and everything, that doesn't matter. Are you able to put the ball in the hoop? Are you able to win games? Does this ad that you created that people love so much, is it converting clients? Is it bringing people into your door and asking about your products or services? That's the metric that I use.
If the answer is no, do something else. Figure it
Right,
out, because that's not it.
right. And so that's kind of what it is. I did a live stream last night about talking about like music and comic books or whatnot. And I had a bunch of kids showing up in the live stream and doing the little mean little kid stuff. And I finally had to say, this ain't for you. This is for me. I don't really care what y'all think.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times business owners don't adopt that kind of thing. Like I'm speaking directly to my clients, and the ones that are really successful have a specific client that they're speaking to with every single ad, or specific subgroup of clients that are aligned with them that they're engaging.
And one of the points I have here is, even in your marketing, go as far as specifically excluding people.
Yeah.
Saying this isn't for you. If it saves everybody that's involved time. It builds credibility without arrogance, right?
Yeah.
And good businesses repel as much as they attract, in my opinion,
Right.
right? And I mean repel in a good way. Like, this isn't for you, if XYZ. like I don't know if this works for travel, but Nebraska's slogan is, what is it? Nebraska, not for everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
not the best for travel, but hey,
Yeah. Well, even as a business owner, I will refer you to competitors if I think that they're a better fit for you. Just
100%.
because for me, if I can't serve you on the level that I think I can serve you, I'd rather you go to a competitor and get what you're looking for as opposed to coming to me and not get what you're looking for and then be mad at me because I didn't deliver on the thing that you were looking for. I'd rather let you go talk to somebody who's more aligned with what you are looking for in this world. And I think not enough business owners want to do that, especially with social media, because
Yeah.
on social media you can really define who your audiences are. Now, there's a caveat to this. Um, don't have an implosion like a local barbecue place, and I think Brian knows what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
Don't do that. Don't
Yeah.
go on social media and draw your line and to the point where it where you don't know. Because here's what I'll say: know who you can offend and know who's still going to pay your books and pay your come in and do business with you. Sometimes you can really segment an audience and specifically exclude an audience and say, hey, we're not really for you. If you want, you will still serve you if you come in, but we're not targeting stuff towards you. You
Right.
could be fine with that, but don't go all out and piss off everybody, because I think that's the other side of things. Unless, this is a caveat, unless you really have that audience dialed in.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
And that's a
really have,
shame because the product they were putting out,
yeah,
some of the best I've had in many, many, many years around here,
yeah,
and just poor.
I'll say impulse control, because
Yeah.
I saw what happened on the other side of it. It
Yeah.
was really like it was some unhinged stuff that was going on, and it's like, you don't do that.
No. There's an old internet marketer called, his name's Frank Kern,
uh,
and he's kind of a legend out there in that world. Um, and he always said about people like that, people that are, if you have clients or customers that are unhappy or dissing you on social media, rather, you put them in the faux. He says the faux queue,
mhm,
the fake queue, but
mhm.
he's spelling it like fuck you. But
Yeah,
put them in the faux queue and forget about them. You don't need to worry about them. They're not,
yeah,
and Gary Vee says don't worry about your haters are not buying from you,
right.
Um,
That's my messaging. Like, I'm teaching people how to do their own, like teaching business owners how to get in front of camera. That is my thing. Don't worry about all the negative people that are going to pop up and say negative things to you,
right.
because it invariably, what that means is they're watching you, but they're not going to buy from you. A lot of your biggest detractors online are never going to buy from you. They're
Right.
just letting you know that they disapprove of your general existence. That's fine. At least you're paying attention to me.
Yeah.
But I think people get too caught up in that aspect of it where they're worried about the judgment of people that are never going to put money in their pocket.
Yeah. And two things. I think that's kind of my theme for, and I think it's the not just mine. I think it's what I'm noticing for 2026. There's really a dial back on uh doom scrolling. There's a dial back on too polished, too clean
Hmm.
content. There's pushback on, um, it has to be authentic, right?
Right.
Everything has to be real and authentically you. So why not just do what I'm trying to do? Focus on is just, my content is going to be just for buyers.
Hmm.
That's it. That's all I want to talk to.
Right.
I don't want to waste anybody's time. And on that same note, if you have to explain to someone, that should care about your product, it's not for them. You've already, if you have to explain it and over explain it, they're not the right buyer. The
Right.
right buyer doesn't need convincing. They recognize themselves in your content. They recognize it immediately.
Right. And I think that that's the piece of it, because there's an education piece that you're going to have to pay, especially if you're not really clear on what you're offering or the transformation you're offering. You're going to have
Mhm.
to do the education piece regardless. But if somebody's already aligned with you, you're going to have to do less educating. And the thing I'm selling is, and I think the people that need to lock in on this, my messaging is nobody wants to see your fucking commercial. I'm sorry.
Right.
No matter how much energy you put into it, people don't want to see your ad. They don't want to see your ad. They don't care how witty it is or how smart it is. Um, they might laugh at it a couple of times and think it bring a smile to their face. But if it looks like just I'm just trying to just sell this thing to you, um, if they're not aligned with you, they're going to keep scrolling past it. The really reason you're putting that out there is to capture people that are already interested in what you have to offer. I hope that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. They don't need hype.
Yeah,
They need clarity.
yeah. They need
Right.
to know how this thing is going to improve their lives or improve their day to day, and not just be sold, how cute and fun this thing is. Um,
Right. And like, say you're a plumber and you put out the latest trend,
mhm,
whatever entertainment funny trend is for the season. That's great. People will laugh, but like next time their water's breaking, they're not thinking about cutesy.
mhm,
They're thinking about the guy who was like, "Listen, you got 3 hours until company comes over, and your thing breaks. Here's a quick way you can get this fixed and get along with. Then you can call someone like us who will fix it for you,
yeah,
or whatever." It's those types of content that you want to put out rather than the latest TikTok dance.
yeah. Well, and that's important to know, because I do think, specifically in the hype machine or the echo chamber of social media, that's something that keeps coming across. Like on YouTube specifically, um, a lot of marketers who aren't really marketers, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
A lot of them that make marketing content, I should say, they never marketed a business, but they make marketing content. They will absolutely push and lean into the hype train or whatever is trending online as a quick
yeah,
hack. And for a long time, I'll be honest with you, when originally Facebook and Google ads were a trend. They
yeah,
stuck around, but they were formed as a trend, a quick way to get business in the door. And they just had more utility than other trends, and so
right,
that trend turned into a tactic that became accessible to a broad group of people.
right.
Initially it started out as a trend, you know and so I'm saying all that to say this: cutesy is fun, cutesy can get you eyeballs, but if you're going to do cutesy, make sure those eyeballs are also make sure those eyeballs also have wallets attached to them,
Hmm.
and they're willing to pay for whatever you're putting out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's. You want to jump into kind of the pricing
Yeah, we
aspects of stuff?
we could get into the pricing side of things. How do you price your services?
Whew. How do I price my services?
Yeah.
Research.
Yeah.
But it comes down to, and we've touched on it several times, but I always come back to what's the value I'm providing.
Right.
I do research on the industry of the people that I want to attack,
Mhm.
and get as clients, and you find out what their budgets are or what they can afford, you know, and then it has to make sense. So if I do XYZ for somebody and it's going to make them $1 million, do I charge them $1 million? No,
Mhm.
but I can charge them a premium price of,
Right.
say, 100K or something if that's what the project, if I'm building a website, it's not going to be 100K, right?
Right.
But if I'm building an entire annual campaign that's going to work for them day in and day out, and it's a whole system that their marketing team is going to use for the next year or two, that's worth 100 or 200 grand. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's the value I provide. So if I say, hey, if you can pay me 200 grand and I'll give you 1 million back, who would say no?
Well, yeah.
You know,
Surprisingly, there's a lot of people that would, and those are the clients I don't want.
100%. And
um, uh,
it's really not about affordability. It's about the confidence you have when you want to start pricing things. You have to have confidence. This is something I learned through trial and error. It's a painful, painful process, as Brian knows as well. All the years I've been in it for 23 years,
Mhm.
almost 24 now. All the years I spent pricing myself so low and leaving money on the table is painful trauma for my brain
Right.
to constantly go back and look at, because I left money on the table so many times because I wasn't confident in my pricing. I'd come up with a price in my head, say this makes sense, and then I'd go to put out that proposal and go, "Ah, I don't know, I don't know. I'm just gonna knock a few hundred off because
Mhm.
I it just doesn't feel right." What does that even mean?
Yeah.
When you start getting down to brass tacks, what does that mean? It doesn't feel right.
Shoot, I had that last week. I had finally just had to close. I wrote out the proposal and sat there and hemmed and hawed about the number. Finally, I just closed my eyes and hit send
Yeah,
because I was like, if you're going to be mad if you change it because what you're offering is provides a lot of value,
100%.
and you just need to go ahead and ship the thing. And I think one of the things that hurts a lot of business owners when they get into the pricing side of it is they try to price everything from their pocketbook. And as the business owner,
100%.
you always put yourself at a disadvantage because your pocketbook's going to look different than your clients more times than not because you have operational costs, you have overhead costs, you have a lot of other things. And so sometimes your dollar may not stretch as far as some of the clients you're serving. But if you treat every single client like they're making the exact same amount of money you are, you're hurting yourself in the long run. Um, not everybody not everybody is um, that connected with the price more than what the value is that they get out of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um, I know people that there's specific some every people have their things that they spend money on, right? Like I remember the entire talk back in the days was how Warren Buffett drove was it a Corolla around town all the time, right?
mhm.
He drives it, now it's like a old like
Lincoln.
20, yeah, it's old Lincoln or Cadillac or something. Um, and they talk, well, it's a 2014 and it's old and stuff like that. It's like, do you see the watch on his wrist? That watch costs more than my house. Like, like,
Which ironically, he probably didn't even pay for. He probably got
right.
given to him. But yeah,
But and people pay for the things they value, and it
yeah,
may not be obvious. And so a lot of times business owners, when they start determining what their price point is, they don't consider what their operational costs are. They consider what would I think is expensive to pay? And that's the least important thing that you need to
yeah.
be worried about.
You don't matter.
Yeah. Take yourself out of the equation in terms of what your bank account looks like and focus on how much does it cost to deliver this thing and how much do I need to build how much of a margin do I need to build in this
Yeah,
to make sure my staff is paid, my rent is paid, my whatever is paid.
I was just gonna say that like that's a base foundational place you start. Like, I need to pay for XYZ, and I also need some profit on top of that. So
Mhm.
if you want my baseline thing that I could tell somebody like in a 30-second snippet of like, what should I price, Brian? Cover your cost, give yourself 35%
Yep.
on top of that, you
Yeah.
know? And your cost is what? What are my costs? Well, your software, your internet, your if you're working out of your home, that piece, the chunk of your mortgage, um, the uh, your hourly wage. I always like to start with somebody and tell them like, well, how long is this going to take you? Actually, it's going to take you 12 hours. Okay. What's your hourly rate? Don't price based on hourly rate. Use it as a foundational pricing
Mhm.
process where like like mine's $275 an hour, right?
Right.
That might sound like a lot, but that's the value I can provide to somebody. But I can start there and say this would normally take the average person 10 hours to do. So this should be $2,750, right?
Right.
Now, I've been doing this for 23, almost 24 years. I can probably get it done in 4. That doesn't mean I should discount it.
Right. And
So it stays at 2750, even though it's really only costing me $1,000 in time.
there's a videographer who's on YouTube, and his stuff is great for videography, but it's even better for business because he went through his entire process and how he prices out projects, and it's a master class in how he looks at his costs and says, okay, like if you get his company to produce content or produce a commercial for you, right? He's basically charging you to rent his equipment. So not only is he charging for the videographer to go out, but basically he charges you like you're renting the equipment yourself.
Right.
That covers if something happens to the equipment while it's there. He has a nest egg to kind of buy new stuff, but then he also puts his margins. It's like he accounts for how much of a margin he needs to make, and that's one of the first things that goes into there.
Yeah.
And he actually puts the margin, like he doesn't put it in the itemized list on the client's end, but he puts it in his, and he lays it all out and says, this is how much, this is, my day rate, this is my half day rate, and
Mhm.
these are all the costs that are related to this. And that's how he sends it forward. If I can find the video, Brian, I'm gonna send it to you off air, but he really has it down. He kind of has it down to a science in terms of how to make this thing viable. You know, how much does it cost to bring in the lighting guy? Okay, well, I got to
Yeah.
pay union, non-union, blah blah blah. He puts all of that in consideration when he comes up with this pricing. And I think specifically business owners that are coming from like regular 9 to 5 jobs, and your regular 9 to 5 job, you get paid for the hours you work. It's a one-for-one transition, right?
Right.
You can't do business like that.
No.
You can't do business like that. We're just getting paid just on the hours that you put in.
Right.
Because you have to make sure you can cover your car. You have to make sure you can cover the internet and electricity use. Like all the other stuff, all these other costs need to get filtered into how you do your pricing. And I think a lot of people don't really think about that.
Yeah. And take it a little bit step further. Like people aren't really just buying your services; they're buying the relief that you give them.
Yeah.
Right. So if you start thinking it, relief from having to guess what to do next in their business, relief from spinning their wheels, relief from them making the same mistakes they've made in the past. If the pricing doesn't match that relief, that can make you feel, well, something's off. So if look at it from that perspective too. If you think, well, I think I'm charging too much. Is it because the pricing's wrong, or you're getting scared of the pricing, or is it because deep down you're not providing the value?
Right.
That's another aspect.
I think
So
people don't think about that.
you need to step up your game maybe a little bit. You
Yeah.
know,
That's
use that as a confidence builder. Say, I'm going to
right.
charge this price, but this time I'm going to make sure that I provide this customer with such great value. I don't feel bad about pricing. You can look at it that way if you want. You know,
There's this I don't know where this, it's either out of Lithuania or something. I don't know. I was doom scrolling and I landed upon it. I think it's some kind of chiropractor or somebody who does like physical adjustments of people, physical therapist or something. And he has these guys on the table and they are screaming bloody murder. Like he's absolutely just going over these muscles and absolutely just grinding into their muscles. And these guys are screaming bloody murder. But they're getting something out of it. They're getting the result out of it, how they feel afterwards. You
right?
can't sell them on this is going to be the worst pain that you've ever encountered or ever endured for however long we're going to do this thing, but you're going to feel like $1,000,000 afterwards. He's selling the transformation. You're going to feel much better. So
Yeah,
even though you're coming in with neck pain, you may, your neck pain, I'm put you on the table, do whatever my adjustment is, and you're going to sit here and scream bloody murder, and then I'm going to post it on social media to
yeah.
get people to look at it. You're selling the outcome of what they're feeling better afterwards. Otherwise, they wouldn't be paying for this. I can't
Is that
imagine.
is that the guy that does the UFC fight, Dr. Hightower?
It's kind of, but this dude is in a completely different country,
Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah,
and
because
it's like
the
it's
guy I'm
like
thinking of does UFC guys, and it's hilarious because these are some of the toughest guys in the world, right?
yeah,
And he's the one that has like he has the chisel with like he uses a custom made Thor
yeah,
hammer,
yes, I've seen those.
and he's hitting into their joints and stuff. These people are screaming, but
Yeah,
they feel like $1,000,000 when they're done.
right. They pay for that feeling of $1,000,000. They're not paying to scream. They're paying
Right.
for the feeling afterwards. And I think people don't understand that they're buying the feeling and the relief, like you said, of that product, what your service provides after the fact. You know, you think about your favorite pizza place. If you were just buying dough, cheese, sauce, you wouldn't pay that much for it.
Right.
But you're buying the artistry that goes into putting the thing together and cooking it the right way and stuff like
Don't
that.
get me started. Don't get
So
me started.
so you're paying that premium for that. Like Dan Kennedy said, there is no strategic advantage being the second cheapest product in your market. Like there's
Right.
no advantage to that. Either be the cheapest or be the most expensive. Don't do the middle.
And check this out. This is one of my last points on price here. It's the right price filters the right conversations. So
Hmm.
the wrong buyers will self-select out and the right ones will lean into you, right?
Right.
So having the correct price and nailing your price can actually save you headache, save you marketing spend, whether that's producing content or whatever. It can save you when you have the right price. You're not you're not trying to explain your price. You should never
Right.
have to explain your price. You know, if someone's like that's expensive, you know, it doesn't it doesn't actually mean that like the price pushback on price usually means uncertainty and not total disagreement. So,
Right.
but you want to get past that eventually and get just your prices nailed in to where, like I said, it just filters out the wrong people and brings in the right people.
Right.
So, Brian, you talked about this a little bit, so you can maybe just jam on this for like 30 seconds. But like
Hmm.
we've talked to it in some of our groups where it's like changing a filter in your HVAC in your house, 2 minutes maybe,
Hmm.
super easy to do. But go ahead, you know where I'm going with this
Yeah.
already.
There are
Some people
people.
will.
Some people will pay to never have to think about it, look at it, consider it. Like they will pay. Like it might cost you $6 to buy like 12 filters, right? And it takes you 30 seconds to do it. Some people will absolutely pay $30, $60, 70 bucks a month to never have to think about it ever again. And so if you're in the place where you can provide that service, why not? Because
Yeah.
they'll pay you for it. Otherwise, they're going to pay somebody else to do it. They'll find somebody who will do it since they don't want to do it. Otherwise, they're going to be buying a new unit every 5 years.
So going back to like being more cutthroat, and I don't know other way to explain it other than saying cutthroat, but be like if that gives you some sort of ick, like
Hmm.
I can't charge people $70 because it's so easy. They can just go. You have to change that mentality a little bit. Like you have to go, well, if someone's going to pay me because they don't want to ever think about it ever again, take that money.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. Don't be that. It's money and stuff like that in business has this weird connotation to it of like negative for
Well,
some reason.
I think it comes down to this because I've had this conversation with people. If you're selling a product or service that solves somebody's real problem and improves their life, then the value is whatever you decide is right. Whatever they're willing to pay, whatever the market's willing to bear.
Right.
But the people that and the reason why people have that trepidation, the reason why they have that is because they have accountability for outcomes. They feel like they're accountable for the outcomes, which is an absolutely positive thing.
Yes.
The people that don't feel that level of accountability for outcomes are typically your charlatans and your bullshit artists, right? Like those are the people that don't feel accountable for their outcomes, and so they will sell you products that don't work,
Mhm.
or products that may hurt it may hurt you or hurt whatever they're proposing to fix for you, and they have no connection to whether these things improve your life or not. And so I think a lot of times people have to get out of that mind state because if you're actually providing a service that does what it says, and it helps people, you can charge for it and not feel, and you shouldn't feel guilty about whatever you come up with, whatever it costs to keep your lights on and keep food in your refrigerator for your kids.
Yeah.
Like you got to think along those lines. And a lot of business owners, they're so used to they haven't jumped. And this is something I've talked about to early stage business owners. You have to make the transition from the consumer to the business owner.
100%. 100%. And it goes back to what we were saying just a little bit ago where like you can't just look at a service or let's just say a solution you're providing, a relief to somebody. You can't just look at that and go, well, it only costs like XYZ on the back end. No.
Hmm.
The intrinsic value of never having to worry about, for someone that has the funds to pay for this every month, never having to worry about their filter being changed, the intrinsic value to them is worth 50, 60, $70 a month because in their brain, they got enough going on in their life where it just makes sense to them.
Right.
And that is not anything you should feel bad about. They will gladly pay it. You're not forcing them to.
There are people right now in this city that are making nearly $1 million a year cleaning up dog poop out of
Yep.
people's yards just because they don't want to do it. And I think people need to understand that if people have the money, they will pay to make sure that they don't have to think about the things that they don't want to have to think about, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You need to be in a position to solve that problem without the guilt that comes along with it. It's not your pocketbook. It's theirs, and they're determining it. Now, if you're making a product, like if you know you're ripping people off, that is something that is totally on you, right? But if you are really providing a product or service that does what it says, what are you mad about? The worst they can say is, I don't want to pay that. And you get enough of those, then you may need to reconsider your price, or you need to reconsider your messaging.
Yeah. Uh, or you could put it into food as well. Like I can go buy um a beautiful prime steak from Sam's Club, right?
Hmm.
And pay, I don't know what it is. Let's say $60 for 3 of them.
Yeah.
And I can go grill it up. I can make it taste super good I can smoke it in my smoker. I can grill it or whatever, right? And
Uh-huh.
I can take just as good as going to um what's the fancy pants place out west there? Uh
Oh,
the steakhouse.
mahogany.
Mahogany's. Yeah,
Yeah.
mahogany. Or you can pay $140 for a steak.
Yeah.
Some people are just going to pay the $140. Does that make the steak better? No,
Mm-mm.
they are both prime. They're both, graded as prime. They're the same level of quality. And you paid $20 for the steak and somebody else paying 140. Does that mean mahogany should just be like, "Oh, no,
So our
no,
prices. They're not
no."
doing that.
It's an intrinsic value. There's a whole experience with it. They're selling a whole experience.
They're selling mahogany.
Right.
They're selling the environment. I've been there. Took my
Yeah,
wife out
same.
to mahogany, and spent $500 on the dinner as a celebration kind of thing. And when we got done, me and my wife were like, "Yeah, we could have gone to Texas Roadhouse. We could
Yeah.
have gone to Texas Roadhouse." But then it also comes down to, it's the same reason why my wife's entire family's from is half of her family's down in Kansas City.
Mhm.
Everybody down there barbecues.
Yes.
And so and I barbecue a lot. Like I do, I know how to pretty much cook anything in the smoker. I use a direct fire and direct heat, and I have a barrel smoker out there, and I really can do it up and stuff. And it's hard to get her to want to go to barbecue restaurants.
Yeah.
She's like, "Why can't you just do it at home?" Like, I don't want to go somewhere else. She's like, "But I'm not going to like it as much there as if you do it at
Well,
home."
you
And
know
so,
this, that the number one thing, because I'm also kind of a barbecue fanatic, and the number one thing is I'll spend all day doing it. I don't even want to eat it when I'm done.
no, it's the smoke. It's
I'm just done.
functionally the smoke. The smoke will sap your it will absolutely
Appetite?
it will drain your appetite because you're smelling it, and it makes you feel full. I've experienced it.
Not
And
gonna say I don't sit there and taste all day long
yeah.
either, but still, I just don't eat it. Everybody else is enjoying it, telling me how great it is, and I'm like, awesome.
Well, I've even gone, and now we're off on a tangent, but I've even
Right.
sit there and looked at it like, I want to buy a offset and all this other stuff. And she's like, "Is the offset going to taste the same?" I'm like, "It's probably not, because I use a direct fire." And so that means is the fat's ripping on the fire. It creates kind of a meat smoke that's
Mhm.
its own kind of smoke that perfumes the meat and everything and gives it a really unique flavor. And she's like, "You're not getting the offset." If you get anything else, it's going to be
Duly noted.
replacing. It's going to be replacing that barrel, and so I have to absolutely sell her on a different kind of direct fire pit,
Right.
because otherwise, it's not going to taste the same. But we're saying that to say this: people pay for the things they value, and there's probably a huge mahogany mega fan out there who loves to go to Mahogany Prime and loves everything that they serve there, and will pay $500 for a dinner for two.
Yeah.
I ain't doing that anymore. I'll
No.
probably never go back to Mahogany Prime. It
No.
wasn't bad,
No, it
but I'm
wasn't
like,
bad. I did
I
have a
go,
bone-in filet though, a
yeah,
bone on or filet on bone, whatever they called it.
oh, wow, that sounds good.
It was good, but not worth it.
Right. I'm going to
So
Texas Roadhouse.
I and Brian are not willing to pay for that. To go back to the main point here, but plenty of people will pay it. You don't feel bad. Mahogany's does not feel bad about their pricing of their food.
Oh no, there's no guilt at all.
No.
It's bordering on shameless.
Yeah.
It's shameless. They don't really care because you're
Yeah.
paying, because you're not just paying for the steak when you go to Mahogany. You're paying for the wait staff. You're
Yeah.
paying for the bartender. You're
Yeah. They
paying
come and
for,
they have a guy that comes and will get the crumbs off your table
yeah,
every all the time. That kind of stuff. That's what level Mahogany's is. So that's why it's so expensive and it's an experience. But like Brian said, our point here is people will pay for certain things and
yeah,
you do not feel bad about it unless if your intent is to be dishonest. That is that's wrong.
yeah. You should feel bad if you are
Yeah.
intentionally ripping people off. But otherwise, if you're just doing the business side of things, well, and there's the last piece, because I'm gonna throw this in here, and this is why the client, this kind of jumps back to client avatar. This is why it matters. If you underprice yourself, when you do these massive discounts on your products or services, discounts lead to discount expectations. The most static I've ever received from a client was somebody I brought in and they paid, and I charged them less than half of what my normal rate was. More headaches, more revisions, more than anything else.
Every
The,
time.
the clients that paid what my asking fee was without any trying to haggle me down or anything, wonderful. We were both happy with the experience. The ones that undercut you are never satisfied. They're never happy with what you provide to them. You could put in your $1,000 work and only charge them $250 for it, and they will find something wrong with that $1,000 of work. Or you can give somebody $1,000 of work and have them pay $2,000 for it, and they would have paid $4,000 for it.
Hmm. And the wrong customer that you've done that with, they always want more. They always want more reassurance. They want more calls with you. They want more breakdowns. They want more.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they have more exceptions, and they want all these things. That's hesitation that you're fighting, and they don't see the value in what you provide. The opposite, the right customer will give you. They'll give you. I can for 23 years. I keep saying that number because it's a long time. I feel
Mm-hmm.
old saying that, but like the right customer always is easier to work with. They have fewer
Yes.
questions. They have fewer decisions that they feel they need to make. They're less reckless with your time. They
Yeah.
appreciate you more. They value. It comes down to they value you or they don't.
Right.
And someone that wants a cheaper price, cheaper price, cheaper price doesn't value you as a person. Doesn't value you as a service. They don't value like the number one thing I hate is people wasting my time.
Yeah.
And if you don't value my time, why should I value yours?
That's the point. Your business is your baby.
Hmm.
Your business is your baby. Your business is your child. Do you want your child with somebody that doesn't value your child?
Yeah.
Or do you want your business with somebody that cherishes your child the same way you do? That's
Hmm.
kind of how you got to look at it, where they value what you provide and value your business and your service on that level, where they kind of cherish it. And if they're offering anything less, then they don't. If they're coming at you and trying to lowball you and say, well, such and such is saying this much, I can just go down the street. Okay, then go down the street. I've done that we've done that with clients specifically. Well, this basketball program's offering this, that, and the third. Okay, well, then you can go over there. It sounds like they're more in line with what you're looking for.
Right.
What do you mean? You said them, and so apparently you're more in line with them, so you can go there and get what you want from them.
Yeah.
But
Don't
I'm not going to
sell.
provide it here.
Don't sell the unsellable.
Right.
Right.
So
Um.
for business owners, I want to throw this out here, and this might be premature to announce, but I'm throwing it out here. And Bryon and I have been talking about it. Um, if this stuff connects with you, I want you guys to think, what would you pay to have access to us on a pretty regular basis in a private community where we can help you out with stuff? Are you like, because Maya and I are putting something together.
Mhm.
And I think we're going to charge for it. Like it's not going to be a free thing, but think about the kind of value that you can have, that you'll get from Bryan's 23 years of experience, my 10, 15 years of experience, in different aspects of marketing. Think about what it would look like if you had
Almost 40 years of experience
almost
combined.
40 years of marketing experience. All you have to do is come in, jump into the community, and ask the question. And so before we announce it and announce the price, I just want you to latch on to that and think about that.
Yeah.
What would that look like? Because we're cooking up something here.
Yeah, that's something we should probably ask all of our groups that we're in, and I'll do it as well and say, "Look, what would you guys pay for that?" And it's kind of a little bit of research, I guess, but
Hmm.
me and Brian have been around long enough. We already know what we're gonna charge,
Right.
um, but we're curious for sure. And you'd get access to us and kind of a it's one on one, but it's also like this group think thing that I am
Hmm.
super enamored with right now for 2026, like wisdom of the crowd.
Yeah.
Um, and then think about it when you're in a group like that that's paid, and a lot of the like Brian and I's decision to make a paid group was twofold. It's a revenue stream, but it's also getting the right people together, right?
Hmm.
That have skin in the game. So if you have a group of people that you can also network with that all are got their head on straight, aren't tire kickers, are in it to win it for business. Think about that kind of crowd you could be with
Right.
on a regular basis, on top of the already almost 40 years of marketing experience and being able to find and fix the things that are wrong with your business.
Yeah.
I don't know of other groups personally that take it to the level that we want to take it.
Yeah.
Like we want to do big things with this. So
Imagine being somebody who's brand new. You're in your first year or two of business, and you're in a group with a lot of grizzled business owners. And you're not just asking marketing questions; you're asking real business
yes.
stuff here. You're getting actual mentorship from a group of locked-in business owners. What would that be valuable to you? How much would that accelerate your curve, your learning curve as a business owner? I
And
think,
the value to growth ratio on it is amazing. And I say that because not because I'm trying to sell it, but like there's a lot of people that can't afford, you know, three, four, five, six, $7,000 a month to have a consultant, right?
yeah,
But what if you could pay something uh, very nominal compared to that, especially, but that would get you the same type of result,
yeah.
right? That's wild to me why someone wouldn't want to do that. So,
So we're cooking something up. So I want you guys to stay tuned for that because we are going to be selling it, and I think it's going to benefit not only our local community and the people that we interact with locally, but I think it can be a national kind of thing. And so be on lookout for the message in the machine,
yeah,
and whatever and what the community that comes along with it, guys. Um, and so I know we got to both get rolling. We got kids to pick
yeah.
up,
I'll
and so
close with this if you don't
go
mind me
for it.
closing
Absolutely.
for me today. Most business decisions get easier when the
Mhm.
two things we talked about today, when those two things are clear, right?
Mhm.
Who is your product or service actually for, and what problem does it remove? When those things are clear, pricing stops being awkward
Right.
and marketing stops feeling so noisy. So, who are you selling to? What's the price you're going to sell it at? Those things come way more easier when you understand who the buyer is and what
Right.
the buyer wants or what the buyer needs. I would focus on what they need rather than what they want, right?
Right.
Um, but everything becomes easier. I got a video coming out that explains a lot more of this as well. But it's like this doesn't need to be so hard all the time on people.
No.
They do all these things. I've done SEO, I've done websites, I've done this, I've done that. Nothing ever seems to work. And 9 times out of 10, it's because you've done something and it works once and you're like, then it never works again, right?
Right.
but it's because you land on these things and you don't have something to back it up. You don't have a system to back it up. You go viral. What's viral going to do for you if you don't have the right system, for lack of a better word,
Mhm.
to do something with it,
Yeah.
you know? So that's what I just want to make clear on these shows and the community we're building and with my future clients is that let's stop let's stop all the confusion.
Yeah.
Stop hating on previous marketing experiences. If you run into someone like us that is willing to step in and say, "Look, calm down. What's actually broken? What can we actually work on? Don't just do things for doing things' sake."
Yep. You'll say, "I've done all this. I've done all this stuff." And then my question is, so have you done it all at the same time or in
Right.
a system where one feeds into the other? Because if you're just doing random acts of marketing, I mean, you're going to get random acts of success or failure, and that you're not going to know where it comes from either way. So,
Yeah. And it's something we don't really talk about. We should probably talk about is that feedback loop of like try, measure, report, adjust, start over.
right.
Try, measure, report, adjust. Yeah.
It's a science and it's boring, but that's the stuff that makes money. So, with that being said, Brian, I think that's a good note to end on, you
Okay.
know. And we'll wrap this up and we will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you later.
Appreciate your time. Peace.